Hello and welcome, internet friends and family, viewers from all around the world. My name is Chris Fung. I'm here with the Mind Sports Olympiad, and we're just about to head into the finals of the Catan Bullet stream with my good friend, legendary Catan player, one of the best players in the world, Matt Hawkeye Punelli. How are you feeling today, Matt?
Doing great, Chris. Glad to be part of the commentary here. Excited to see a good final game, hopefully.
Absolutely. Now, to all of our friends out there in the internet, the Mind Sports Olympiad, we are the world's largest and most competitive board gaming tournament in the world. Well, I've already said the world twice, and we're on the hunt this year for the world's strongest board gamer. As part of that quest, we have gone through multiple rounds of Catan Bullet. You might be wondering, what the heck is Catan Bullet, Chris? Well, it's Catan, just like you know it, except that the players have a shot clock. Matt Punelli, how long is the shot clock? How long do we have on the turn?
It's 70 seconds per turn, so that goes from start of the turn, from rolling the dice, playing development cards, 70 seconds. So not a lot of time, but definitely adds a different element of strategy to the game for sure.
Certainly, once we reach these turn orders where people have multiple cards in hand, the trades are certainly going to be something which is going to be affected by that. And we hopefully will see some of that time pressure affect some of our players today and see how they handle it. Because as we all know, the social dynamic in Catan is one of the things that makes it one of the most beautiful and easily accessible games in the world. So really interesting to see how these top players navigate that. For those of you out there in the world, if you're interested in seeing how these top players navigate Catan so that you can pick up some tips and tricks to dominate your own kitchen table games, you're in for a treat. That's exactly what we're here for, and that's exactly what we've got Matt Hawkeye Punelli for. If you have any questions for us, unfortunately this isn't live. We won't be able to handle your questions in real time. However, we will be reading comments for our broadcast as we continue throughout this month of August, where the Mind Sports Olympiad we will be having tournaments all the way through up until the 30th of August. So if you'd like to register for any of our events or check out any of the rest of our commentary, you can find all of the information below at msoworld.com. Now, we've just got all four of our players hooked up for audio and visual, so hopefully we'll get the opportunity to listen to the texture of their table chatter, and in just a small while, we're going to see the players roll up and get started into the game of Catan. Bartek, may I ask you to please have the players begin? Thank you so much. Now, Matt, just while we get started, while the players get themselves set up on our user interface KatanUniverse.com, can you tell us right at the start of the game how important are these opening settlement places?
Oh, I mean, that's definitely probably one of the most important aspects of the game for sure. I mean, that dictates the whole game. I mean, if you make a mistake in the placements, it can really set you back. And then having the 70-second timer definitely adds to that. I mean, because you want to get a good placement, you want to kind of look forward to whatever everyone else is going to place, what's going to be available to you. So having that 70-second timer it really limits your options. Sometimes you don't have time to think about everything, and you just kind of have to pick what looks to be the best available spot.
Really interesting, and of course, the devil is in the details. I'm looking forward to seeing what the texture of our opening board is, and seeing exactly how we interpret and how the players interpret the best spot available in the distribution of resources. Now, the four players today, they've managed to battle through a tournament, a field of 123 of the best Catan players in the world, and a massive congratulations to our four finalists. It looks like we're going through a couple of technical difficulties before we head into the start of our final game. Can you tell me, Matt Punelli, how important is it to be flexible, or are there certain strategies, particularly in this four-player variant, where the winner takes all, that are better than others?
Yeah, I think flexibility is definitely important. I think kind of or wheat sheep is kind of the popular strategy nowadays, getting cities and development cards. But I think it's definitely important to be flexible. You don't want to be in a position where you're depending on largest army to win, and then someone else buys 5 knights in a row, you can't get it. Or same thing for longest road. If you're depending on longest road, sometimes it can get out of reach. So I think it's definitely important to be flexible and to be in a position where you can maybe find another way to get 10 points that wasn't maybe part of your original plan.
Wise words. Now, Catan is one of the most extraordinarily extraordinarily good. Come on, Chris, learn how to use the words. Catan's one of the best-selling games of the past decade, and that's for a reason, right? It looks on paper to be super, super simple, but really, there's a lot of nuance in the game, and hopefully, we'll see a lot of that nuance occur through the player chatter, which I think is one of the important factors for these top players to separate themselves from the pack. What do you think about that, Matt?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every little decision can make an impact on the game in terms of, where you're blocking with the robber. I mean, every trade that happens, your order of where you're building settlements first. I mean, yeah, a lot of that goes into the outcome. So, yeah, and I've played with a couple of these players. Max beat me in round 3 to get to the finals. So he's definitely strong. I played a lot of games with K20, so I know both of them, put a lot of strategy in their game. So I think we'll definitely see a lot of that strategy in this game.
Super exciting, and I actually can't wait to get started. I'm so excited for this. Come on, Matt, let's go. I'm particularly excited to slag off your mate, this Max guy who beat you. How dare he beat you in round 3 of this? How dare? No, we're joking. We're equal opportunity slaggers. We are going to be slagging off everybody. No one is safe. Hide your children, hide your women. Well, actually, that's a little bit misogynistic. Hide everybody. Hide your dogs. Hide your cats. Hide everyone. We're coming for everybody. Jokes aside, we're actually quite lucky to this year, actually every year, for the Mind Sports Olympiad is known in the international community as one of the nexus points, a meeting place of the smartest board gaming minds in the world. Some of these games, if you're not familiar with the Mind Sports Olympiad, we've been competing, we've been running ever since the start of August, and from August 1 until August 30, we've got a calendar of over 90 different tournaments, 15-something world championships, and of course, the main reason why the Mind Sports Olympiad is so important on so many gamers' schedules, the Pentamind World Championship. If you haven't heard of the Pentamind World Championship, it is the search for that year's world's strongest board gamer. Largely, we track at the MSO, we track all of the players' performances across all of the different tournaments in which they enter. Players, for every tournament that they play in and complete, will get a score out of 100, which is based on their position as well as the number of competitors in that game. And quite simply, we take your top 5 scores, and whoever's got the top 5 scores at the end gets crowned king or queen. Unfortunately, that's something that we should talk about more. We seem to have an underrepresentation of female players and players of diversity. Steadily, though, especially with the advent of our online Switch this year, we're starting to see that change with a fantastic amount of diversity across our tournament schedule. For games like Catan, perennial favorites like Catan, Matt, how important is it that what are the benefits and the detractions for high-level players like yourself when we open up these kinds of tournaments to larger numbers of players all around the world?
Yeah, I think Catan's a game where, since it's a 4-player game, you're not just facing one opponent. I think, other players, if you get an experienced player in your game, it can definitely impact the game a lot. With the trades and such, if there's, an imbalanced trade. But like you said, the social aspect is a big part of the game. So that's one way to kind of counteract that. But I think it's definitely great to have, a large audience of people in the game, and, to open this up worldwide. I think it's great to have all these people competing. I mean, I wouldn't be able to compete in it otherwise, except without the online format. So definitely a good thing, I think.
A big shout out to our big cheese, the head honcho himself, Mr. Eitan Ilfeld, CEO and Managing Director of Mind Sports Olympiad, the gentleman upon whose shoulders I stand. Thank you very much. And I say thank you because it is his initiative this year to make registration free for the very first time in our 24-year history. So it's a big year of firsts for us here at the MSO. Not only can you enter these tournaments for free, and but we're also not only that, but we're also available online through through our partners like our good friends over at Catan Universe, like our good friends over at Board Game Arena and Play OK, and a number of other different game platform partners. It's been a fantastic tournament so far. And if you're interested in any of these games that we're currently playing, or you're just interested in board games in general, you reckon, you know what, you're a bit of all right. I reckon you can take the best. I can take the best on. I can take on the best in the world. Then please feel free to test your mettle by fighting against us by fighting against our top players in our tournament schedule, available through msoworld.com. The link right down the bottom. Now I'm hearing from my technician that the players are just about ready to go, and here we are. Matt, could you please introduce our 4 finalists, please?
Yeah, so we got 3DS Max, K20. Like I mentioned, I played both of them quite a bit. XP11, EB03, ZC. Not played either of them before, so not really familiar with their play styles. But yeah, looks like having problems getting the game started still.
All right, so it looks like we still have a couple of teething issues. This, of course, is one of the difficulties of running an online tournament, where internet access and computer specifications are not even across the board. Some people have we have actually got a really international finalists here. We've got 2 Canadians, 2 players from Toronto, 1 player, Xiangpeng, I believe his name is, from originally from China but currently in California, and a Dane, a gentleman from Denmark, our good friend K20 from the happy place of Denmark, where only happy royalty live. Of course, I'm referring to that wonderful play. Do you know the play that I'm speaking about, Mr. Matt Punelli? It's a Shakespeare. The sad Dane.
I have no idea. Not good with plays, so no clue.
As a high school drama teacher, I say fie on you, Matt Punelli. That is your homework. And to you out there in the real world as well, if you don't know who the Great Dane is, if you don't know, and no, it's not Patrick Antonius, the poker player. If you don't know who the Danish king is, the sad Danish king is, to which I refer, then you need to go on Google and have a bit of a trivia. I promise it will enlighten your life. You'll seem smarter to your friends. You don't actually have to be smarter. It's all about seeming smarter to your friends. Really, isn't seeming smarter to your friends the only reason you play board games? What do you think, Matt?
I mean, I guess that's how it starts. I mean, you just start playing with friends, and you want to be the best there, and then kind of evolves from there, I guess. So yeah, it's definitely how I got into it, I suppose.
And on that note, the idea of wanting to upstart, is that the word that I'm looking for? To be an upstart. Aha. So I'm just getting told that one of our players is having some further technical difficulties, which our technician is about to deal with. What were we talking about before, Matt?
You said something about upstart. I remember.
That's great. Thank you so much. While board gaming, you're absolutely right. It starts as a reason to beat up on your friends, to beat up on your family, especially at these levels, at the higher levels of consideration, where players are putting in hundreds and hundreds of hours into developing their skills. It becomes something more. In my experience, it becomes instead this quest to become better yourself. When your opponents at the board gaming table, they don't represent enemies so much as opportunities for you to learn to get better. The idea that comes to mind for me is that beautiful Bible verse that from Proverbs: as iron sharpens iron, so too does man sharpen man. What do you think about that, Matt?
Yeah, I think that definitely makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've definitely feel like since I've gotten involved in finding a competitive group to play with, it's definitely helped me improve a lot. So I definitely, it's actually King of Catan's the name of the group I play in. So I definitely recommend it to anyone that enjoys playing, wants to get better. Site kingofcatan.net. That's how you join it. You play some games with me, play some games with some of the other great players out there.
Right. I'm going to interrupt you very rudely there, Mr. Hawkeye, because we're diving straight into the game. Our friends and family, finally, Catan fans all around the world, we're here. Put the other ear on. All right, okay. Thank you so much. All right, so we're in the most interesting and most important part of the game, which is the initial placements. Hawkeye, can you tell me, what do you see?
Um, it's definitely a tough board for first because a lot of times if you see a really good or wheat spot together, that's a lot of times your go-to first spot. But we don't really see that here. You have the three or next to a couple wheat spots. I don't know if that's strong enough. I like that A510. It's definitely the highest producing spot. Yeah, right next to a 3-1 port. Um, Anytime you get a really high producing spot like that with a A510 next to a 3-1 port, it gives you a lot of that flexibility. Let's go with good or number, good sheep number. So definitely going for that or wheat sheep strategy. I do kind of like that. It's only a 3 wheat, but if you look at the map, there's a lot of wheat spots in the middle of the board with that 10 and that 6. So I think Max placed there with the intention of being able to get on a second wheat number and play a strong or wheat cheap game, especially with the 3-1 ports right there.
I could not agree with you more if I tried. We're currently on Red's turn. Excuse me, we're on Blue's turn. Ebb, a good friend Eric, I believe his name is. And right now I do have to note that there are only 2 good ore producing spots. Do you think, in your opinion, Matt, is it possible? I assume here that 5, 9, 10 is going to be high in consideration here, as well as the spot that you noticed earlier, this 5, 10, 8 spot. What are you looking at from the second position here, Matt?
Yeah, I think both of those are really good positions. So I think third position is going to have a huge advantage, being able to take whichever of those spots is left. I think I've noticed good if you have an or wood brick spot together like that 9-5-10. That's definitely really strong. Being able to put a city down on that spot and just really increase your road building potential and give you a strong play for longest road. Yeah, we see the 8-10-3 here. I guess maybe a little bit of surprise. I guess he's maybe thinking the 4-3 is available and getting a second expansion spot on that ore. And it kind of blocks the A5-10 too, and maybe playing a little defensive and taking that good A5-10 spot away.
That's a really surprising placement by Ebb, and I believe that they are looking that road placement is ideally towards the 3-4 spot, but also towards the 8 ore spot on the sheep. I can't look. I really like this 5-9-10 spot, mainly because it's got that wood port directly on the 10. But the question then becomes, how do players round out? There's that old adage, no wheat means defeat. Is it possible here that our first player placement, 3DS Max, will not end up having access to a high wheat producing spot? What do you think?
I think I think he'll get another wheat spot if it's maybe he's thinking, if he gets the 10, obviously 10's not great, but if you have the 10 and the 3 both, I really like that, having 2 wheat numbers like that, 2 lower producing wheat numbers. Because if you think about it, a 10 and a 3 is the same probability as rolling a 6, except if you're just on a 6, it's much easier to block. You just put the robber on the 6 and you're not getting any wheat. But if you're able to get on both the 10 and the 3, it's the same production as the 6, but you're not getting blocked as easily because you're always going to have a wheat spot open.
That's a really perceptive insight there. And something that I want to note here, Hawkeye, is that there are multiple placements for our 4th player, XPS, to place their settlement to immediately have a road. How much is that factoring into your final decision points here?
I think that's definitely a big factor. Like if you look at that 6-5-12 spot, go pointing right at the 9 ore. I mean, that's definitely be a good placement. Be able to start with a road. The alternative, though, is when you're 4th, if you get that starting road, a lot of times makes you an easy target at the beginning of the game because all 3 players are going before you. There's a good chance someone rolls a 7, and they're going to be stealing from the guy with the road in their hand because they want that early first expansion. So it can make you a target with starting with that road, but can definitely, if no 7's rolled, lead to an early good first expansion spot.
It looks like K20, the player who placed third, has kind of the best first settlement placement. It's got the most. It's certainly the highest producing. It looks like, and it's got the best ore. The question for me is: will K20, our red player, manage to find a good good wheat and good sheep production to go with that? And I don't think it's possible to get good sheep, but they can at least get good wheat.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, he's going to get good wheat as you see both six that are available. So his plan might be to go to the 693, build to the 3-1 port, and then he'll be able to use that port and then also the wood port. Actually, he could skip right over the wood port and just go right to the 810. That's another possibility. So he will have options for sheep. And I think sheep, when there is strong numbers on the board, like those 2 8s, there's a good chance that, three players will have a lot of sheep in their hands. And obviously sheep is kind of the least used resource. You only use it for settlements and development cards. Only need 1 sheep at a time. So there's a good chance they'll have excess sheep willing to trade for it. But I think on a board like this, you can afford to go without sheep. So I think that's kind of what he has to do. Looks like he doesn't really have an option. So I like kind of hovering over that 693. I definitely like that spot. Having a 3-1 port available, kind of to make up for that lack of sheep.
It looks like a big race over here between. There was a potential race between gray and red for the 3 port close to the 3 wheat, but it looks like red has chosen to avoid confrontation and instead double on the much more lucrative 6 wheat port, which is towards the right hand side of the board. So we're currently on with our blue player Eric. And the 2 resources that they lack are the wood building resources. Interesting here that Ebbs could place such that they will get good ore. They could take this 4-5-11 spot. What do you think? And they've chosen something completely separate. Where would you point your road here, Matt?
I think he's definitely gonna go to the 9 ore, yeah, because then he'll get the sheep port. So if he's able to get a city on that 8-10-3. They'll be really strong to give him more wheat and ore, and then he'll have the 8 sheep with the sheep port. So I think that's I definitely like pointing there. But we see with some of these placements on the outside, Max kind of got fortunate to have that free road in the middle and a lot of space to expand to. So he'll be able to double up on that 9-4-11 or get on that 4-5-11, double up on his ore. With a lot of and having his settlements close together, he definitely has the best shot to have longest road too. So I think Max is definitely in a really good position here starting off.
Yes, this domination for the center. It certainly looks like Max has a lovely advantage at the start. Pretty good ore production has rounded out, except has poor wood production, which they've managed to mitigate slightly by managing to steal that wood from our blue player, Mr. Ebbs. I wonder here, where will Ebbs simply want to take the wood back? As they've got a 50-50 shot of getting the most important resource, arguably at the start of the game, which is road building resources. Do you think? And they've done exactly that. They've stolen from Gray, I believe. Yep, they stole from Max.
Yeah, it makes sense
for that 50-50.
He knew Max had that extra wood because he did start with 1 and stole it. That's obviously the rarest resource for him. So I like that decision to steal from him there and try to get the wood back.
Hey Matt, looking at this board texture, would you just say, especially with the purchase of Gray's recent road, would you say that Gray is clearly at an advantage here, or do you like any other person's starting settlements more?
I think he's definitely definitely has the advantage. Like I mentioned, having the 2 wheat numbers makes him strong. But I think it could come down to simply, what rolls and what doesn't. If that 4 is not rolling for him, he's gonna have a hard time. There's plenty of games where numbers like 4 or 10 don't roll. So I think if 4 is not rolling, it's gonna be a hard game for him. But I think he definitely has advantage. I think blue definitely also has a strong setup. I think that 12 will help him out, but I think having that wood stolen set him back a bit. But once he's able to get on that 9-12, I mean, he'll have better wheat production than Max, so better ore, similar sheep. So I think he'll have a really strong setup as well. But I think Max definitely has a flexibility of being able to maybe take longest road, largest army as well.
I only just noticed how brutal it was that Max, the Grey player, stole Blue's wood, because Blue's only way to produce wood is with that 12 wood to the bottom left. How ridiculous!
I know, right? And I mean,
yeah,
what's kind of a disadvantage for him too, with only having 11. So, Catan's brutal like that. Like, especially for that first person rolling a 7, they kind of have all the power in their hands.
some good rolls for Grey here, and Eric, our Blue player, is really hungering for that. Oh, and they've managed to just do that, to manage to grab the wood that they need to build that first settlement, which ends up, as you pointed out, solving a lot of problems for Blue in terms of how to grow, because that port, access to that sheep port, will immediately solve their continuing wood problems, and also access to that 9 ore spot is going to be really important.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think once he gets there, that 9 ore is going to be a huge blocking target as well. So I think that's actually going to hurt K20 quite a bit. Right now, I don't see the 9 ore being blocked very much, since he's the only one on it. I mean, usually you want to hurt two or three players with a block if you can. But once Blue gets onto that 9 ore, it becomes a lot more attractive of a robber spot, and could hurt K20 quite a bit if someone else gets there.
What I'm really interested in is how the game, because right now we're kind of in a lull where players are kind of building up, putting their heads out. There's a road here. The first real tension point will be the very first settlement built, because that at that point, we're going to have clear leaders. We're going to have clear factions drawn. I want to draw your attention, Matt, to this lovely table chatter which is happening with our players right now. And it's really hard to pinpoint any particular moment. Hopefully we'll be able to bring in some trade, but they're really quite friendly. They're offering trades. They're talking about things. They're asking each other, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And we've just seen exactly that. Matt, in your point of view, is Grey clearly in the lead right now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a really strong settlement spot. 5-4-11. I think a lot of times without a timer, you can think more, and maybe I think defensive placements are a big thing to kind of limit those expansion spots. But I think, maybe without the timer, you kind of have to think quicker. And he ended up having a great expansion spot in the middle of the board, which a lot of times you don't see.
I'm going to interrupt you very rudely there. I'm so sorry, Matt. I'm going to interrupt you rudely. Bartek, could we go back in time 30 seconds to listen to how the players are talking to one another for trade?
Okay, with the first city on board, here it comes.
So you're so good at counting, Max.
Huh?
I'm saying you're good at counting.
It's kind of easy.
All right, so that was really lovely. A little brief insight, of course, that the players are already starting to talk, and that there's some geniality going on. You heard some players saying, "Oh, okay," with the first city on board. Of course, there are two real divergent points: the first settlement and the first city. The city generally considered to be much stronger than the first settlement. Can you tell me more about that, Matt?
Yeah, I think usually cities are stronger just because being able to sit first, your initial placements are going to be better than expansion spots. So you're able to kind of double up that production of your strong settlement spots. But I think in this case, the settlement is almost as strong as a city. If you look at it, counting the pips on those numbers, I guess can't see it right now, 4-5-11 or 4-9-11, whatever it is. That's a 9-point spot, which is, his first settlement was on a 10-point spot. So that can be kind of deceptive. Like, everyone gets afraid of a city where he just, the 9-5-10, that's an 11-point spot he citied, whereas Max got a settlement on that 9-point spot. So it's almost comparable production, even though it's only a settlement. So I think sometimes that city kind of scares. The settlement is almost as strong as the city, but actually adds another number for him to another brick spot. So I think in this situation, a settlement is almost as strong as a city.
Something that I think is really, really interesting is before K20's turn, I can't actually hear whose voice it was, but one of the players signaled to the other players, K20's got a city. It's city time for K20. So it's very clear that at this level, there's at least some hand tracking going on. Catan, of course, is an open information game. If you're good enough, you should be able to know exactly what your opponents have. Matt, can you tell me, do you expect all of these players to understand exactly what each other have?
I wouldn't say exactly. It's definitely hard when cards get stolen, things like that. But one thing with the online game is you have the dice statistics in the game log available, so you can easily scroll back and see what rolled. So that makes it a lot easier than playing the physical game to kind of know what people have. I don't know that I've encountered anyone that knows exactly what everyone has, but they can kind of tell. I'm sure that a couple times, so you knew K20 picked up some more. And then, probably just a little bit of table talk saying, the first city's coming, just to kind of put it in the other players' minds that he's going to be a strong threat.
All right, and really interesting here. K20 for the second turn in a row, having a massive amount of cards in hand, offering a lot of trades. If K20 is seen to be the leader here, none of the other players should trade with him. Is that right, Matt?
That's not necessarily true. I mean, I think it definitely depends on, you want to make sure you get a good deal. If it's something that benefits you, I think one thing is people are afraid to trade with, someone who's going to be in the lead. But also what that does is, I mean, if he's the clear leader, he's going to be the one getting pounded by the robber. So, I mean, even if he is leading, as long as it's not something big, like giving him a city or something like that, I think it's definitely manageable as long as it's something that benefits you. If you're like me, if you're able to get a city out of it, I think you can definitely still trade with the leader. It's still early in the game, and if he's going to be able to be contained by the robber, if everyone's going to be teaming up against them, I think it's definitely okay to trade with them as long as you make sure it's a good deal.
This trading session is actually super telling for a number of reasons. I think that all the players know that XP11, a green player, is pretty close to getting a city here, and they're reluctant to trade with him because of it, or they're looking to extort him because of it. Would you ever trade with a player who's close to a city here?
I definitely would, unless it's something that is really rare for you. I'm kind of surprised K20 did that. If it was like with K20 having sheep, I mean, if it was something like if he's getting 2 sheep out of it, that's something you might want to give him a city. If you're getting something rare, I was kind of surprised because I mean, brick seems to be pretty common for him, unless he's able to maybe 4-for-1 brick get a city of his own. And also kind of analyzing. I mean, maybe green, maybe he doesn't think that green's in that strong of a position. Obviously has the weakest ore out of any of the players. So that might be another consideration, is that even though he's giving up a city, if he doesn't view green as really having a chance to win the game, yeah, definitely. Then I think people can be cautious to trade with someone just because they're giving a city or settlement. I think it's important to analyze that person's position in the game. And I think he maybe realizes with that low ore, not really a good chance along this road. Maybe he's not really a threat to win, so he did a trade that benefited him, even though he gave up a city.
Well, speaking of, K20 has the capacity, has the resources in hand right now to build the next settlement on the 6-2 wheat spot with that 3-for-1 port, and it sounds like that he's in the mood to trade. Very interesting your analysis on not trading with who you think is not a threat to you. And further on that point of view, can I ask you, Matt? It seems like all players are kind of moving on up. Do you think that this is a pretty even board, or is there any particular player's position that you prefer more?
I think blue is. So yeah, see, it looks like reason K20 is trying to get that trade so you can get that quick expansion on 10-5-2. But I really like Blue's setup. He got that city down. He's on 2 ore, 2 wheat numbers. He's got the sheep port, so I think he's in a really good setup. Like I kind of pointed out, Max has really good setup, but he's really dependent on that 4 rolling, and he doesn't have any ore in his hand, so it doesn't look like that 4 has really hit yet. So he's definitely been hurt by that. So if 4 picks up, I think Max is in a good spot. But as it currently states, I really like Blue's setup. You can see his sheep being block kind of hurts him, but yeah, I really like.
I really like. I want to draw attention. I'm so sorry to interrupt you there. I want to draw attention to K20's last play. So we saw that they had the resources in hand to build a settlement on the 6-2 wheat, the 3-for-1 port, and instead of doing that, they made the decision instead to forego that settlement for now and build those 2 roads towards the 10-5-2 spot. That's quite an aggressive move. Why would they have done that, Matt?
Yeah, that's a good point. So that's a really good expansion spot for him. And as we saw, Max was able to build a road to settlement at that time. So K20 knew that, I think that 11 hit. So he knew that Max had a lot of roads in his hand. If Max is able to expand to that 10-5-2, it's going to be really hard to stop him just because he's going to have he's going to have longest road for sure. And that's just a really good expansion spot for any player with a 3-1 port. And obviously it's going to be really hard for Blue to get there with, not having good wood or brick. So I think he did that to secure that. He's on 2 brick numbers, so brick's what he's missing now. But having the 9 and 5, it's pretty likely for him to roll it by his turn. So I think, it was definitely a good move to secure that spot because I think for sure Max could have gotten there with having roads in hand.
I'm really enjoying K20's play there, and I think that aggressive road expansion has managed to pay off because they've actually managed to cut off the entire northern side, the north and the right-hand side of the board now. And this idea of being aware of what your opponents can do and restricting their movements, I think is one of the common themes of Catan at this high level. What do you think about that, Matt?
Yeah, for sure, because, it's kind of a dual effect. It hurts Max's chances to get an expansion spot, and then it opens him up to get longest road as well. He's got 3 brick spots now. He's got a city on his wood. Having the roads like that, it looks like kind of like an awkward road setup. But he's able to build a 6-2. He can loop around the 2. That'll give him a long length of road. So it gives him a play. He doesn't necessarily need longest road to win, but I'll definitely give him a play to get longest road if that 10s are hitting more than Max's 11s.
Ooh, great roll here for all colors except for green. It looks like XP11, despite only being behind 1 point, it feels like that 1 point is a much larger gulf than others, simply because of the texture of his numbers. What would you say to that, Matt?
Yeah, for sure. I think he'll benefit from kind of K20. K20 is going to start getting blocked here a lot. I guess he does share a few spots with him. So he might be kind of collateral damage with that 9 ore getting blocked. But his sheep should be opened up more, so he might be able to utilize that sheep port, buy some development cards. So I think he's probably the favorite right now to get largest army, buy development cards. So a lot of his game will be dictated by what he gets from the development cards. If he is able to pull that big monopoly, pull a few VPs, or get largest army, kind of control the robber. I think that'll be big for him. So I still like his position, even though he doesn't have quite the diversity that K20 does.
Still a lot of Catan left to play, and a lot of it is going to come down to these die rolls. We see Eric, our blue player, consulting that dice statistics chart quite often to try to get a handle on what players are getting what.
Yeah, for sure, and that 2 rolled for K20, so that's his weakness, not getting cheap. So that two hitting is definitely big for him. He gets the power of placing the robber. So we'll see if he kind of views Max or Blue here as the bigger threat.
I'd love to go back to time 30 seconds to listen to their trading. Bartek, could we hear that trading, please?
All right.
Okay, well, I think that didn't work out for us. I'm so sorry, Matt. I was looking to have K20's. We can hear the player's audio, by the way, so we can tune back in time 30 seconds to listen to the context of their board chatter. I'm going to try to pinpoint for you guys, for you folk at home, when the texture of their conversation is interesting, because as I've mentioned to Matt before, I truly believe that your ability to table talk and the ways that you set up trades is one of the defining factors that separates the top players from the rest at Catan Bullet. Thank you for that, Mr. Technician.
Yeah, so I think what we heard on that was, so K20 was missing a wheat for a settlement. He knew Max had wheat, so he was kind of threatening Max. He said, will you give me a wheat if I don't block you? And Max probably didn't want his 4 ore block, so he agreed to it. And then it looked like K20 ended up stealing a wheat anyway, so they didn't have to trade. So it was basically a way to ensure the settlement for K20, and then Max not wanting to get blocked and ruin his chances of that city there. Had to kind of give into it.
Could we hear the player audio live, please, Bartek?
No, I think, yeah.
Max, we're at the crossroad here. We're both at the crossroads here. Road or army?
Yeah, so I think K20 is trying to decide. It's kind of an interesting dynamic. Because him and Max both have the ability to get road and army. So he's kind of
I'm thinking
trying to decide what his strategy is going to be here.
Sense? Oh no, it doesn't. Show me 2 cards and I can do the deal. It's a sheep. I mean,
Ooh.
2 for 1. Yeah.
Ecstatic.
He's got 10 cards. If you
they can't do that.
It's just the sheep is so rare for me.
K20.
And if it's what you need, you gotta pay.
K20 being a bit of a table boss, I'll 2 for 1 you for the resource that you need. And all the other players going, nah, mate, nah, I can't do that. Especially not for these ridiculous, awesome. I love this like little maneuvering. These conversations will set up the trade appetites for the players as we continue through the game. And so the way that the players are talking now is actually really fascinating to me. The art of the deal, negotiation. K20 here with 13 cards in hand. There's going to be a lot of stuff in here. I think that they can actually just build 2 roads and a settlement right now if they choose, or they could simply build 2 roads and 2 development cards. There's a lot of directions that they can go. What would you use their resources for here, Matt?
I think he's going to want to start getting development cards because he's going to start getting blocked a lot. So I could definitely see him buying 1 development card, seeing what it is, and then he still has the option to settle on that wood port if he wants to. But I think he's definitely taking into account maybe going for longest road. So he might want to keep his roads on the right side of the board, but it looks like he's leaning towards getting a road and selling on that wood port, which I think is a strong play. He's going all the way to 810. I like that as well. So I think that kind of shows that he's planning on going for largest army by getting on that 8 sheep.
I agree with you completely about the development cards. I think K20 is very clearly in the lead here. I'd be very open to hearing your considerations towards that. But I agree that if you're in the lead, you got to protect that lead by starting to by building those development cards to keep the knight off you, to build towards largest army, and hopefully snowball out of control there. Do you think that K20 is clearly in the lead here, Matt, or do you think that it is closer than that?
No, I think he's definitely in the lead. I mean, it seemed like he was going to have a hard time getting development cards, at least until he got on a port without having sheep. But then we saw that 2 hit when he was doubled up on it, got 2 sheep from that, and now he's expanded all the way to 810. And it seemed like he was going to, maybe be behind in the army race by the time he got all his expansions, just because everyone kind of had good ore, wheat, and sheep. But I mean, no one else has really bought development cards at this point. You see Blue has 1. So I think he's definitely in the lead here. Now we see Max just kind of going for cities, getting his production up. So maybe he's kind of going to give up on the longest road or largest army battle and maybe just try to win with longest road and maybe another 2 cities.
I kind of can't believe that. I think that K20 is going to permanently have the rubber on them for a while until the other players catch up, and I think that's part of the beauty of Catan. Really, the players can trade and use the rubber as kind of a rubber band mechanic. Have you heard of the expression rubber band mechanic before, Matt?
I don't believe I have, actually.
Oh, it's super interesting. So the rubber band mechanic is this idea in board game design where if one player or 2 players run off into the distance, then there should be something in the game that kind of like slingshots them back into the rest of the pack. And in the context of Catan, it is the ability for the players to not trade with that player and trade amongst themselves, and also the distribution of where the rubber is. That's that rubber band mechanic. So and certainly blue and green here, I would expect should be a lot more open to free trade between each other, so that they can bring back red and gray. There's some great table chatter here. Can we go back 30 seconds in time, please, Bartek? I missed the window. Damn it. Dang, nabbit. Oh, well. That's all right. That's okay. So, I would certainly say, Matt, that that it seems like red and gray are far out ahead of blue and green. What would you do as both blue and green to kind of bring the game back?
I mean, the really challenging thing is that they both have a really good spot, and that's their ore. And you can't block really those spots to block both of them are kind of secondary spots for them. Because, I mean, K20's 9 ores is main spot. Max has the 4 ore.
Wow.
To really hurt them with a robber, you can't really block both of them. So it's definitely a challenge. Like you see, K20 is getting 9. There's no way to block. And if his 9 gets blocked, I mean, Max's 4 is going to be open. So I think it's going to be really hard just because they don't really share a lot of primary spots here.
We are seeing K20 and 3DS Max really roar ahead in terms of resource production. They seem to just be like they're generating resources at such a ferocious pace. I wonder if if the other 2 players, blue and green, can really survive for long under that kind of onslaught.
Yeah, no, I guess it'll depend on blue. He's going to be buying development cards, so he'll be in control of the robber. I mean, if he pulls that lucky monopoly, I mean, that's definitely something that can bring you back in the game. That 8 sheep, it does hurt both players. Definitely hurts Max more, but it is K20's only sheep. Making him have to rely on that port, that 3-to-1 port to get sheep. So I guess that's one spot that can kind of hurt both of them and limit both their development card potential.
It really seems like K20's got a boom or bust approach, and so does 3DS Max. It's all predicated on these 9s and the 10s.
Yeah, for sure. So we saw it's kind of boom and bust for K20 there because he got a lot of resources, but that put him over 8 cards, made him susceptible to the 7, and then ended up losing half of them on the 7. So yeah, it's like you get a lot of resources. So if you don't hit that 7, you're gonna have a big turn, but he's gonna. Oh, and kind of hear in the background, K20 kind of ran out of time on discarding resources, and I guess the AI dumped all of his ore, which is definitely not something he wanted to get rid of. So already seeing the timer come into play here.
For our folks back at home, could you remind us about the effects of the timer? How is it introduced in this game?
Well, the one thing I'm not sure about, honestly, is so it wasn't K20's turn. It was Blue's turn. So I'm not sure if there's a different timer for. So it was Blue's turn, but then K20 had a discard. So I'm not sure if 70 seconds for him as well. But in general, so once the dice are past your turn, you have 70 seconds start to finish for rolling the dice, playing development cards, doing any actions. Nothing extends that timer. It's just 70 seconds. So not really sure how that gets implemented in terms of discarding on a 7, but it seemed like K20 wasn't aware of it and ended up losing some of his valuable ore.
We're going to see a big turn here from 3ds Max, willing to give away an entire road if they can get sheep. And the reason for that is quite clear. If you look at their hand texture, they really, really need that sheep in order to get a settlement. And I think that all players kind of understand what is going on here and are unwilling to trade with one of the two leaders right now. And it seems clear to me that the two leaders are red and gray. And wow, massive at 9. Can we hear the player audio, please, Bartek?
Anyone have timber?
I had it last
I
turn.
believe not. Oh yeah, that's on the 11.
Anyone have timber?
I had it on my turn.
It's
gonna
gone.
have to be
It's
a
all
good
gone.
deal.
It's gone, eh?
Very important to note,
No,
viewers,
it's not all
that
gone, but you have
one
to
of these
show it.
players has resorted to actually crying like a baby because the game is not going their way. You should know that tantruming at the highest levels is certainly one key aspect of strategic play. No, we're joking entirely. Surely one of these people is a parent. Just my little joke there. Please don't send angry comments to our YouTube. Something really cool to me is to hear Eric talk about timber as a Canadian. Here's an interesting play, Monopoly here. Monopoly for ore, for only 4 ore. Do you think that this is worth it? Matt?
I mean, so he's getting a city out of it. So I guess if he has a lot of wheat in his hand, I mean, if his hand's kind of stuck, I guess it makes sense to kind of bail him out, give him a play. Yeah, ideally you'd want to get more cards than that, but I guess he's feel like he's in a position where he needed to make something happen now. He's kind of fallen behind. So he wanted to get that second city on the board. Kind of interesting decision to pass with 11 cards. Maybe kind of ran out of time. Yeah, Monopoly is definitely something that's hard to pull off with a 70-second timer.
We are seeing the effect of having to think at these fast levels, and it's really actually super interesting to see how these players are negotiating that. There's a lot of chatter going on. Bartek, can we have live player chat, please?
You have 11 cards right now. You're still very much in the game.
I know, but I have nothing you want.
Everyone can sneak out.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, man. I think I have to. I want to win.
It's okay. I'll just have to block you more. It's fine.
Yeah. I know. At this point, we're just trying to win, right? Guess we all are.
5-9.
Wow.
Super interesting, yeah. So you just heard a fantastic exchange between 3ds Max and K20, where K20 chose not to trade with 3ds Max because he didn't want to help him, and that everyone should be fighting for themselves. It should be noted that the K20 has no cards in hand, no development cards, but is on 9 points and is clearly one of the clearly in pole position to take out this game before anyone really has had a chance to get going. So one good round of rolls means that K20 can very clearly win.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see if there's any trading going on to give someone else longest road. He does only have 5 roads right now, so he could very easily lose a road. But that's another thing it's harder to orchestrate with. Sometimes you need to make trades with multiple players to give someone longest road. So that's going to be a little more challenging with the timer, I think.
A really accurate use of the robber just then, and this is unfortunate actually, because K20's closest and fastest route to victory, they cannot build any more settlements, so they have to upgrade to a city for an extra point. So there are 2 really fast routes to victory. The most sure one is to upgrade to a city immediately. The second one is to try to go for a victory point in the development deck, of which there should be 5. So K20, even though they've got 9 points now, all the other players, if they play accurately, will be able to prolong their K20's ability to win.
Yeah, so I think he's in kind of a position. I mean, normally I think it makes sense to hold for a city, but at the same time, he's the only one that's played a knight and no one has army yet. So he has the luxury of maybe pulling for that victory point. If he doesn't get it, maybe he gets knights, and then he still ends up with largest army. So I think in his position, he definitely obviously prefer to get the city, just the automatic win. but he has the luxury of maybe pulling for victory points and then maybe, being able to get largest army. So if he does lose longest row, which is a possibility, he still has another way to win the game.
Absolutely. Do you think that is this really a 2-horse race now? What can the other 2 players do to rein them back in? What do you think?
Well, we see blue has 2 development cards now. So, I mean, it'll be hard for him to catch back up before K20 gets that 10th point. But really what needs to happen is that they need someone else to take road. The problem is if Max takes road, he's at 8 points, but that's farther away than K20. So I think ideally they get Max to take road here. That will knock K20 down to 7 for the time being and kind of give both the other players a chance here.
It's a really dangerous and precarious position for everybody because I don't really like the idea of giving away longest road to Max because it's kind of like replacing one monster with another monster,
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, one thing for him is if he's able to build another city or 2 or get to 8 points, I mean, for sure no one can trade him longest road. I just give him the win. But I think as long as he sticks at 6 points, I think it's okay to trade him road. So he doesn't have any wood right now, unfortunately. So he's not gonna be able to take road back. I don't know if any of the other players do, but I guess got the year plenty, so he might be able to take longest road with that if the game survives one more turn. But the 7's kind of K20's worst enemy right now because he's just going to get blocked every single time. So the more 7s there are, that's just another way to limit him. Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like blue just kind of announced they have the road building card right now, so he's trying to got the right steal, so he's able to take road. That'll kind of buy everyone else some time.
I'm like literally going like right now.
Great, fantastic. Ignore what I said.
I hope so. Come on, get in there. There it is. Okay.
All right. We're having a lot of great player conversation. Can we get the players back into the live stream, please? And of course, they take that moment not to speak. Okay, so Matt, straight back with you. Can you tell me, is it now that longest road has been wrestled away from K20, right? Who do you think is closest to winning?
I mean, K20 definitely still has the potential to build a lot of roads quickly with his strong wind brick. So I guess since we can't see blue screen, we don't know what his development card is. So he could be close, if he has a victory point. He's able to get, another settlement in the city real quick. I think K20 definitely he's take back longest road. Kind of a smart play there, blocking his wood. But I think Blue definitely gave himself a chance by taking Longest Road, kind of depending on what his development card is. Either might be able to get Largest Army quickly before K20 can get Road back, or get, if he has a VP, he might just be able to get 2 more points. So I think Blue kind of put himself back in the game with being able to take Road, put himself in a good position.
All right, so we're currently on 3DS Max's turn, and we've got a trade. We've got a successful trade. I've actually been really quite surprised at the high volume of trades in years past. Certainly, if you want to check them out, you can see the Catan World Championships run by Catan Studio available on YouTube. You can check out past years, and traditionally at the highest levels of competition, there has been a reluctance to trade at the highest levels. Certainly, a lot less trading has occurred than what we're currently seeing today. Matt, can you tell me more about this predilection toward trading and this new meta that's evolving, where we've got a lot more sociable gameplay?
Yeah, I think one area people have started doing that is with their obber placements. Rather than just saying, "Oh, this person has a wheat, I might be able to steal it." They're trying to guarantee it, saying, "Hey, trade me that wheat if I don't rob you." I see that. That's kind of actually in the King Catan I play in, I think K20 is kind of one of the first people that started doing that. And now pretty much anyone that plays there does that, like every single 7. So that's definitely something that's a big part of the game. And I think trading in general, I think people are starting to realize the importance of it, especially with if you're able to get a benefit from it and your opponent's not benefiting too much, rather than just relying on dice rolls to get everything, because obviously the dice aren't going to cooperate with you all the time. I think people are realizing the importance of trading.
Speaking of, XP11 has been a little less active than the other players in terms of the trading, and here. Here, I wonder how much of it is related to their table demeanor, because they seem to be speaking a little less as well. How much do you think that matters here? Shouldn't most players be more willing to trade with XP11 since they are seemingly in last place? What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. And like we noticed at the beginning of the game, K20 made that trade with him and gave him a city. So I think that was one example of he gave him a city, which you normally don't want to do. But since he was kind of in the worst position, they did make that trade. And then obviously he's going to be hesitant to trade with K20, but he saw that getting that ore port spot there kind of crucial in giving him a chance to win, because now he maybe has a chance to get Longest Road as well. So even though it's obviously not advisable to trade with the clear leader of the game, he saw that as like a necessary play to take that spot away from Blue and kind of keep him in the game. So kind of something necessary for him there to make that trade with the leader, but kind of give himself a chance.
Ooh, everybody, please. Thank you so much for that insight. But everyone, we got to put our black pajamas on. We got to be very sneaky, because we know a secret. Mr. 3DS Max has managed to get one of the most powerful development cards in the game, that hidden victory point card. Of course, the other players will be very much on high alert, knowing that 3DS Max has 3 development cards in hand, to the possibility that they've got a victory point card. But especially now we're at the pointy end of the competition, it's gonna come down to these kinds of things, taking 1 more point and then taking one of the 2-point swing cards. So either the largest army or the longest road is a very quick route to victory. Although 3DS Max seems pretty far from both of those bonus tiles.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he got the knight in his hand, which will be helpful. So he could maybe start if Blue doesn't get any development cards here. I imagine he would, though. But actually, Blue hasn't played any knights yet. So even though Blue's going to be buying some development cards, if he doesn't play one here, Max could play a knight, and he'll have the lead for army if he's able to buy another development card, assuming K20 doesn't get a knight. But another approach here would be to save that year plenty, maybe get a city on the 5-4-11, put him at 8 points, and then use that year of plenty to take road if his brick or wood rolls.
We've got some more potato issues with our blue player. Which bodes well for 3ds Max, but it bodes poorly for everybody else because in the event that we have and nobody wants this, we want to play a game all the way to conclusion. In the event of blue leaving or being unable to continue, it's going to fill up everybody's points, and we're going to end up with a tie, I believe, due to these tournament rules, which nobody wants.
Yeah, for sure. And blue's actually in a pretty good position here with so he wasn't blocked and ended up playing a knight, so that kind of shows me that he has another knight or two, and is going to be able to get to largest army here in a couple turns.
Whoa!
Now K20 ends up with a victory point, so that's a big pull for him.
I think that the victory point that K20 has a lot more repercussion than the one that Max has, because K20 can very easily, with his sneaky ninja pajamas, steal longest road at any point, and they've got 9 cards in hand, and they're going to go for more. They're going to go for more development cards here. Those knights are going to be multi-use. We're certainly seeing the end game where there's no more expansion possibilities, no more easy expansion possibilities for settlements or cities, and so players are going to be digging into that development card deck, looking for the final points that they need to get across that line. So even a road building card here is going to be really massive. Wow, K20 trading away an entire road for the sheep required to get another development card, and we see exactly that. K20 are really aggressively going for the dev cards here.
Yeah, so it seems like he's all in on trying to get. Once he got that knight, he's all in on trying to get largest army now. Maybe realizing it's going to be too hard to take back longest road. Since the way his road pattern is, he's kind of limited on space there on the right side. So his, road's probably not going to happen. Green traded for road, maybe thinking himself he's going to take longest road, or that's his plan. And it ends up with a city. And having that wooden brick citied up, he's kind of has the chance to, maybe take longest road and sneak the win himself. So it kind of seems like maybe everyone has a chance here in this game. I think green and blue definitely caught up, put themselves back in it.
I think that we are in for an electrifying game here, and really, all the players are even on points. Although we know that that 3ds Max has a hidden victory point, we know that K20 has a hidden victory point as well. The fantastic thing about a stymied board like this, where it's hard for one player to race out ahead uncontested, is it gives time for players like XP11 and Eric, our blue player, time to catch up. Now, for red, this next battle for the largest army is going to be super telling. Holy cow! We've gotten a chance to glimpse into blue's hand for the very first time. They've got 2 victory point cards, so there's only one card left.
Actually, this is Max. This is Max's hand. Actually.
Oh, excuse me. I'm being told that this is Max's hand. Thank you so much, everybody. That's actually super. That's super important. This next largest army bonus card is going to be the next frontier. Who do you think has the advantage in knight cards and development cards, Matt?
Well, I think blue definitely. I mean, it's very likely he's got a knight there in his 2 development cards. I think Max definitely has the edge to win now. I mean, that year plenty he can essentially use to get a point. So he can either take road with it if his brick or wood rolls, or if he's able to get might be able to get 2 cities on his turn with that year plenty. So I think he's in a definitely good position to win. If blue has a knight and a victory point, unfortunately we're not able to see his screen, but he would just win on his turn by flipping over that knight and taking largest army. So I guess, yeah, we're not sure what blue has, but I think Max is definitely going to have the potential to take the win here, either through longest road or maybe 2 cities.
Of course, to the other players, they believe that Max is on 6 points, but we, with our sneaky ninja pants, we know that 3ds Max is 2 points away from victory. Same thing for K20. He's the only one who knows he's only 2 points away from victory. It really is thrilling, and it could be anybody's game.
Yeah, for sure. So it looks like he's still intending on taking a road here.
Well, K20 is only 3 roads away from being able to do that. Can they build in such a way that they can get the 3 roads in there? Do they have space for the 3 roads to take longest road here, Matt? K20, I mean?
Yeah, so if Blue doesn't build anymore, as long as he builds 2, he just needs to build 2 more and loop around the 2, and that'll give them 9 roads. So as long as he can build 2 more roads, unless Blue can add one to it, and then that'll definitely shut him back a little bit. But yeah, I think he just needs 2 roads right now. Or if Blue doesn't have a knight, then K20 will also just win on his turn by playing a knight. I think Max
K20, you saucy minx, you sneaky man. We could see K20 end up winning out of nowhere here, and it's going to be a massive surprise to our players because they don't know that K20 has that secret victory point that we know about. Really sneaky play. I wonder if the other players are going to be able to notice it in time, and whether or not Blue here is going to be extending their road. It certainly doesn't look like it. They look like they're all in on the development cards. If K20 rolls well, this could be all over in a couple of turns.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Blue might just win on his turn too if he has. So I think Max knows the game's gonna be over and is trying to pull 2 victory points to win. He did get one. So
that's the last one.
He's one.
I believe that's the last one in the game. Is that right? That's the last victory point in the game.
Well, not sure if Blue has one or not. So if Blue has one, the game's over.
Brutal.
We know K20 has one, Max has 3. So there's okay. So Blue must not have one based on what he's saying right now.
So there's one. I believe that there's one left in the game, then, right? So
There
K20
is,
we
yes.
know has one. Yeah.
Well,
That
so
was
Blue
actually a
has
really
to play a knight if he
key
has one. So Blue has to play a knight if he has one. If he doesn't, K20 just wins on his turn with playing a knight and having a VP.
Yes, I think he has to take the largest army now. But if he doesn't have it, then K20 could take. Yeah, K20 could take largest army if they've got it in hand. Do they have a development card?
Oh, I think that's the game now. K20 just wins because he has a knight and he has a VP. So I think that's the game. K20 has
Brutal.
it. Blue didn't have a knight, unfortunately.
Axes. And I think actually, in terms of the resource in hand, K20 just generated 3 wood and 1 wheat. So I think their hand is 3 wood, 1 wheat, and some amount of. Well, actually, do they have any clay? I don't think they've got any clay. I think they've got ore.
I mean, he's got 10 points in his hand actually because he'll get largest army, and then he has a VP. So
yeah, he will.
That's actually game.
This is it. This is the fun. That's it. That's game. That's fantastic, extraordinary. Can we get player audio, please, Bartek?
Thanks for the game, guys.
Yep. Thank you.
You okay? Thank you. You okay before you go?
Yeah.
I love hearing that. We've got some congratulations from the other players. Bartek, could you please invite K20 to join us for a winner's interview? But that was a fantastic match. All right. So for those of you who don't know, Matt Punelli has exploded in a mist of pus and is now known as just a black hole. No, just joking. Matt is he's turned off his webcam for now. Massive congratulations to all of our players for reaching this final, for besting a massive field of 121 different players. A fantastically close game there in the finals with K20, our Great Dane, taking it out there. Matt, do you think that I really enjoyed that game. I thought that it was quite thrilling. What did you think about the game in total?
I thought it was definitely an exciting game. I mean, K20 kind of raced out ahead, and it seemed like he was just going to win easily. And then the other players kind of found a way to slow him down by taking longest road. So I ended up getting to a point where everyone ended up having a chance to win, and definitely made for an exciting finish. Just kind of unfortunate for Blue that he didn't have a knight, because if he did, he'd be at 9 points with a chance to win. K20 would be a little farther away, but that definitely a good finish for sure.
Do you think the other players... Oh, thank you very much. So I'm hearing that we have K20 ready to join our stream, audio only. Yes, please, Bartek. Please bring our final winner in. K20, are you there? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Congratulations on winning a thrilling final here in the Catan Bullet, besting a field of 121 of the strongest Catan players that we've seen in many years. Congratulations on your victory. How do you feel?
Thank you very much. I'm very surprised that I got to win. Yeah, I'm very excited about it. Sure. Great players here.
Matt and I. Yes, absolutely. I actually am very, very pleased that you said that, because the sportsmanship that you all displayed both before the game and after the game was phenomenal. So, of course, I would like to be the first one to let you know. Well, congratulations, of course. But you're the recipient of our prize donated by Catan, our friends over at Catan Studio, which is a $150 American voucher for Catan Shop, where you can pick up versions of the game. You can pick up some swag. You can pick up some small children if you want to buy it. No, I'm joking. That last bit is a lie. And you also have a copy of either Carcassonne or Splendor coming to you.
That sounds terrific. Thank you very much.
What do you think? We've been analyzing your play for a while, and it seemed like you were out in front right from the start. Do you think the other players should have done more to keep you down?
I think they did what they could, but they were up against the dice just rolling for me from start to finish. So yeah, I feel like I made one mistake. I shouldn't have built on the 8-10. Should have built on the wood port instead. Would have saved me the cards. I think I needed to win earlier.
That wood port.
I'm pretty sure that
would
will
quite juicy. Because every 10 you would have rolled would have been 1.5 of any of any resource that you wanted. So it was actually a really interesting tension point. But you also didn't have access to sheep at that point. Hey, Matt Punelli, Hawkeye, do you think that it's quite clear that do you think it's as clear as our good friend Kristian says, that it was a mistake out and out, or that it was a preference thing?
I think it was definitely a tough decision. And I think I'm sure part of your decision was. Everyone had a good or we cheap setup, but no one really had gone for largest army yet. So you were probably thinking that as a possibility, maybe getting on that 8 sheep. I'm guessing that was, so it was definitely a tough call. And I think, having the timer doesn't help with having to make those decisions.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's timer.
It was like a short window for taking the longest road or largest army. I had to make a decision. And I decided to go for the army since Blue was putting up a good fight for the longest road. I guess that was part of my decision to get some sheep for the development cards.
Fascinating insight there, Kristian. I apologize for talking over you. I was about to say that one of the things that both Matt and I were very impressed with in your play was the versatility that you showed, the flexibility. Can I ask you, how important is it for you to keep constant track of what your opponents are capable of and what they're looking for?
If you want to win it at Catan, you definitely have to look out for other people winning before you, because there is only one winner. So yeah, if you want to take first place, you have to be aware of what other people are doing. Obviously, yeah.
Do you mind if I ask how specifically do you know what your players have got? Are you hand tracking? Are you memorizing exactly what they've got? Is it more of an impression thing? Are you keeping track of the development cards that they've got in hand? What is your how accurately are you looking at what your opponents can do?
I do it as accurately as I can. But it is tough at times because in a game like this, a lot of 7s in a row, so a lot of cards change hands, which you don't know what is. But I try to keep track of it. But to be honest, it's a pretty late here in Denmark, and I'm also very tired, so I did my best.
Oh, yes. Of course. And I don't want to hold you on for too long. I understand that this tournament's quite long, and thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. This is a fantastic treat for our viewers. I thought that I would wrap up with just one final question. Again, congratulations. If there were players out there, new gamers who had seen what you've done today, and they're like, wow, I wish I could play that well across other games, what piece of advice would you have for new gamers out there?
There's a couple of things you can do. I can definitely recommend Delighted on YouTube. And then there are things like joining different Discords to get more competitive games and learn from really great players that are on there, like Matt that you have on here as well. So I think that's my advice.
What a cutie pie you are, Mr. Kristian, our good friend. Congratulations on I don't want to hold you up too long because I know it's quite a late day. Thank you so much for showing us a spectacular level of play, not only through the Swiss, but also the finals today. From all of us here at the Mind Sports Olympiad, and on behalf of Catan Studio, congratulations again. We'll be looking forward to getting your winnings to you. Good night, and thank you again.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here. A pleasure to be a part of it.
Yeah, congrats on your win, Kay. I'm excited to have some more table talking ammo next time we play to say walk the Mind Sports Olympiad champion. So.
Oh yeah, you'll have more to use there against me. That's good. Looking forward to it for sure.
Yep. Congrats on
extraordinary.
The win.
Well, from all of us here at the Mind Sports Olympiad to all of you out at home, and on behalf of both myself, Matt, and all of our team here, thank you so much for joining in and tuning in out there. If you too would like to compete in any of our tournaments from now till the end of August, please feel free to sign up at msoworld.com. If you are interested in just what it takes to play at the ridiculous levels that we just witnessed today, our community is ready and willing to embrace you and hopefully teach you some of these lessons across the board gaming table, whether that be online or in person. From all of us here, thank you so much for joining us and have a great rest of your night. Good night. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.